Your financial blueprint was installed before you were 10 years old, not by a financial advisor, not by a school curriculum, by the conversations you overheard at the dinner table, by the way your parents talked about people who had more than you did, by the emotions in the room every time money was tight, or every time someone spent more than they should have. Harv Eker calls this your money blueprint, and his central argument is both simple and devastating. You can have all the knowledge, all the strategy, all the opportunity in the world, and your blueprint will override every single one of them if it is set below the level you are trying to reach. He did not theorize this from a distance. He lived it. He started over a dozen businesses before the age of 30. Each one failed, not because of bad luck or bad timing, because of a bad blueprint running beneath every decision he made. Then he changed the blueprint. Within 2.5 years, he went from near zero to his first $1 million. He wrote Secrets of the Millionaire Mind not as a motivational framework, but as a technical manual for the one upgrade that makes every other upgrade possible. And today we are breaking it all the way down through the CosmiReads manifestation lens, because what Eker discovered is exactly what Murphy, Dispenza, Housel, Sincero, and Kiyosaki have each been pointing at from different directions. The outer world is always a reflection of the inner world. Always. No exceptions. Welcome back to The Wealth Edit by CosmiReads. Video 4. Same narrator as Rich Dad Poor Dad, because some truths need a steady voice to land. If you have been with us through this series, you already have 3 powerful frameworks running. Housel gave you the psychology, Sincero gave you the energy, Kiyosaki gave you the architecture. Eker now gives you the blueprint, the specific invisible programming that determines not just how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how you feel while you are making it, and whether you can hold it once it arrives. This is the video that ties every previous video together, because a blueprint is exactly what Murphy called a subconscious program, exactly what Housel called a financial thermostat, exactly what Sincero called the big snooze. Eker just gives it a name that makes the upgrading of it feel not like therapy, but like engineering. Before the chapters, a moment with Eker himself, because his story is the proof of concept for everything that follows. He grew up in a household where money was a source of constant tension. His father's view of wealthy people was not admiration, it was suspicion. Rich people were greedy. Money was scarce. Success was for other people. These were not lessons explicitly taught. They were absorbed. Eker absorbed them perfectly. And then he spent his 20s trying to build businesses on top of a blueprint that was quietly sabotaging every one of them. The turning point came from a conversation with his father's wealthy friend, a man who said something so simple it took Eker years to fully understand. If you are not doing as well as you would like, all you have to do is change your mind. Not your strategy, not your effort, not your timing, your mind. Specifically, the files inside it labeled money. The first key insight is what Eker calls the money blueprint, and his definition is precise. Your blueprint is the combination of your thoughts, feelings, and actions in relation to money. It was set in childhood through 3 primary channels: verbal programming, what you heard about money growing up; modeling, what you saw the adults around you do with money; and specific incidents, emotionally charged moments involving money that became your reference points for what money means and how it behaves. The manifestation implication is direct and urgent. Dispenza taught us that the body becomes the mind, that we literally feel the emotions of our past programming as if they are happening in the present. Murphy taught us that the subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. Eker shows us that your financial blueprint is running right now, generating emotions, filtering opportunities, driving decisions, based on programming that was installed when you were too young to evaluate whether it was true. The work is not to try harder. The work is to find the file and rewrite it. Daniel was a 34-year-old software engineer, earning well above the median income for his city.
Every performance review he received was exceptional. Every project he touched succeeded. And every year, without fail, his savings account looked almost identical to what it had the year before. He could not explain it. His income had grown significantly over 6 years. His net worth had barely moved. He sat down one afternoon and did Eker's blueprint audit, tracing every belief, memory, and emotional charge he could locate around money back to its source. What he found was a blueprint installed by a mother who believed that wanting more than enough was a form of greed, and a father who treated every financial windfall as something to be spent immediately before it could be taken away. Daniel had been earning at a high level and subconsciously routing every dollar back to zero, because zero was familiar, zero was safe. Zero was what his blueprint said was the appropriate resting state for someone like him. He rewrote the file. Not overnight, methodically. Within 14 months, his net worth had shifted more than in the previous 6 years combined.
The second key insight is one of the most practically useful frameworks in the entire Wealth Edit series, and it is also the one that creates the most immediate discomfort when you first encounter it. Eker identifies 17 ways that rich people think and act differently from poor and middle-class people. Not 17 things rich people have, 17 ways they think. The distinction matters enormously. Having is the result. Thinking is the cause. A few of the most directly applicable to the CosmiReads community. Rich people believe, I create my life. Poor people believe, life happens to me. Rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. Rich people think big. Poor people think small. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent them. Rich people are bigger than their problems. Poor people are smaller than their problems. And the one that underpins all the others, rich people act in spite of fear. Poor people let fear stop them. This is not a moral distinction. It is a blueprint distinction. The thoughts are not better because rich people are better. They produce better financial results because they are more aligned with the mechanics of how wealth is actually built. Clear showed us in Atomic Habits that identity drives behavior. Eker is giving us the specific identity upgrade, thought by thought, that produces wealth as a natural output. Priya had been building her marketing consultancy for 4 years. Excellent work, strong referrals, chronically underbooked. She did the 17 ways audit and identified the exact thought pattern holding her back. She was focusing on obstacles rather than opportunities at every decision point. Every potential client came with a reason it might not work. Every rate increase came with a reason she might lose someone. Every new service offering came with a reason the market might not want it. She was not pessimistic by nature. She was blueprint-driven. Her mother had been a worrier. Her family had framed caution as intelligence and boldness as recklessness. Priya began a daily practice Eker recommends, catching every obstacle-focused thought and consciously replacing it with an opportunity-focused question. Not suppressing the fear, acknowledging it and immediately asking, and what is the opportunity here? Within 90 days, her conversion rate on new client conversations had nearly doubled. She had not changed her pitch, she had changed the energy she brought to every room, and prospects felt it before she said a word.
The third key insight is Eker's concept of the wealth files, and this is where his framework becomes most directly actionable. Eker teaches that your blueprint is made up of specific files, specific belief statements that run automatically in the background of every financial decision. Things like, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, I'm just not good with money, we can't afford it, more money, more problems. These files are not just thoughts, they are programs with emotional weight, physical sensations, and behavioral outputs attached to them. Every time a financial situation arises, your nervous system scans the relevant files and generates a response before your conscious mind has even formed an opinion. The work Eker prescribes is a 4-step process he calls the awareness, understanding, disassociation, and reconditioning sequence. First, you become aware of the file. You hear it running. You name it out loud. Second, you understand where it came from, who installed it, and in what circumstances. Third, you disassociate from it. You recognize that it is a program you inherited, not a truth about reality. And fourth, you recondition it. You install a new file through repetition, affirmation, and emotionally charged visualization. Murphy's entire body of work is built on this fourth step. Eker gives you the first three that Murphy assumes you have already done. Together, they are the complete sequence. Nathan had been a real estate agent for 7 years, top performer at his brokerage, and completely unable to hold money. Every strong commission quarter was followed by a spending pattern that returned him to the same financial baseline. He could not explain it rationally. He was not extravagant. He was not irresponsible. He was blueprint-driven. He traced the pattern back to a specific incident at age 11, watching his father receive a large insurance settlement after a car accident and spend every dollar of it within 4 months, with an almost visible sense of relief when it was gone. His father's file said, "Large amounts of money create problems. Get rid of them quickly and return to normal." Nathan had absorbed that file without ever knowing it existed. He named it. He understood it. He disassociated from it. "This is my father's file, not mine." And he reconditioned it with a new statement he read every morning during his miracle morning. "I am someone who receives money easily, keeps it wisely, and grows it steadily." Within 2 years, his savings rate had transformed completely. He told me the most powerful moment was the first time a big commission arrived, and he felt calm instead of compelled to spend it. The file had changed. Behavior followed automatically.
The fourth key insight is Eker's teaching on the energy of money. And this is where his framework intersects most directly with Sincero's universe co-creator concept, and with everything the manifestation tradition has always known. Eker argues that money is attracted to and repelled by specific energetic states. Specifically, money flows towards people who respect it, expect it, and are comfortable receiving it. And money flows away from people who feel guilty about wanting it, anxious about losing it, or resentful of those who have it. This is not mysticism. It is observable pattern recognition dressed in energetic language. The person who feels guilty about wanting more will unconsciously self-sabotage at the point of acquisition. The person who resents wealthy people is energetically declaring, "I do not want to be like them." And the universe, which Sincero teaches us responds to frequency rather than intention, hears that declaration and honors it. The practical instruction Eker gives is deceptively simple. Bless what you want. When you see someone with a beautiful home, bless it. When you see someone driving the car you want, bless it. When you see someone living the financial life you are working toward, bless it with genuine feeling. Because resentment repels, admiration attracts, and the universe cannot give you what you simultaneously want and resent. Aisha had been a freelance graphic designer for 5 years, talented, hardworking, and quietly furious at the clients who could afford to pay her well, and the designers she followed online who seemed to earn effortlessly what she struggled to reach. She did not think of herself as resentful. She thought of herself as realistic about the unfairness of the market. Eker's chapter stopped her cold. She recognized the energy underneath her realism. It was not analysis, it was resentment. And resentment was the most expensive habit in her financial life. She began the blessing practice Eker prescribes. Every designer whose work she admired and whose rates she knew, she blessed them genuinely, out loud, alone in her studio. It felt absurd for the first 3 weeks. Then something shifted. The resentment lost its grip. She began to see the success of others not as evidence of a closed door, but as proof of an open one. Her rate conversations changed. Her client energy changed. Within 6 months, she had her highest earning quarter ever, not because the market changed, but because she stopped broadcasting a frequency that was keeping the market at arm's length.
The fifth key insight is the one Eker is perhaps most direct about, and it is the one that most cleanly bridges every book we have covered in the Wealth Edit so far. You have to manage your money to grow your money. Eker's specific system is called the money jar system, and while the mechanics are simple, the philosophy behind them is profound. He recommends dividing your income into specific percentage allocations across 6 accounts or jars. Financial freedom, 10%.
set aside permanently for investment, never touched for expenses. Long-term savings, 10%, for large planned purchases. Education, 10%, investing in your own knowledge and growth. Necessities, 55%, for living expenses. Play, 10%, spent completely every month on pure pleasure with zero guilt. And give, 5%, donated or gifted with genuine generosity. The play jar is the one that surprises most people, and the one Eker is most insistent about. Because the person who never plays with money, who always defers pleasure in service of responsibility, is installing a blueprint that says abundance is about sacrifice rather than expansion. And a blueprint of sacrifice will eventually find a way to sabotage whatever abundance you have built. Because abundance built on deprivation feels wrong at a cellular level. Elrod's Miracle Morning taught us that how you start the day determines how you live it. Eker is teaching the financial equivalent. How you relate to money in its smallest daily movements determines how it moves at its largest scale. Ryan had been told his whole adult life that he was bad with money. He was not bad with money. He was operating without a system. He was making decent income as a project manager, spending it in a vague cloud of good intentions and monthly anxiety, and arriving at the end of each quarter wondering where it had all gone. He implemented Eker's jar system on a Tuesday evening with 5 online accounts and a spreadsheet. The first month felt mechanical. The second month felt like breathing. The third month he looked at his financial freedom account, just 10% of his income, set aside untouched for 3 months, and felt something he had never felt before in his relationship with money. Security. Not because the amount was large, because the act of setting it aside had changed his identity from someone money passed through to someone money stayed with. He told me the play jar changed him almost as much as the freedom jar. For the first time in his adult life, he spent money on pure pleasure without a single moment of guilt, because the system had already taken care of everything else. Guilt-free pleasure. Security without anxiety. Ryan said it felt less like a budgeting system and more like a peace treaty with money.
5 ways to apply secrets of the millionaire mind to your manifestation and wealth practice right now. 1. Do the blueprint audit this week. Trace every belief you currently hold about money back to its source. Who installed it? In what circumstances? How old were you? Name the files out loud. You cannot rewrite a file you have not located. 2. Run the 17 ways audit. Go through Eker's 17 rich versus poor thinking patterns and identify the 3 where your current blueprint is most misaligned with wealth. Not to judge yourself, to know your starting point with precision. 3. Identify one wealth file to recondition. Take the belief that is costing you the most, one you have named and understood and disassociated from, and write a new file, a present tense identity statement that replaces it. Read it every morning during your miracle morning with dispenses elevated emotion. 4. Begin the blessing practice today. The next time you encounter someone with the financial life you want, whether in person, online, or in conversation, bless it, out loud if possible, with genuine feeling. Do it every day for 30 days and track what changes in your own energy around money. 5. Implement even a minimal version of the jar system this month. You do not need 6 bank accounts on day 1. You need the principle. Set aside 10% of your next payment into an account you label financial freedom and do not touch it. The identity shift that comes from that single act is worth more than any financial strategy you will ever learn. Your 7-day Millionaire Mind Challenge. Day 1, complete the blueprint audit. Every money belief, every source, every age it was installed. Day 2, run the 17 ways audit. Identify your 3 biggest blueprint gaps. Day 3, write your new wealth file, the belief that replaces the most expensive one you found. Day 4, begin the blessing practice. 10 genuine blessings directed at financial success you encounter today. Day 5, calculate your jar percentages based on your current income and set up at least one account, the financial freedom jar. Day 6, identify where resentment of other success has been running as a background program and consciously replace it with admiration. Day 7, read your new wealth file aloud every morning this week with full emotional conviction. Notice what decisions you make differently by the end of the day. Drop one word in the comments right now that describes the money belief you are leaving behind. Just one word. I read every single one. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is not a book about earning more. It is a book about becoming someone for whom wealth is the natural result of who they are, not a struggle, not a surprise, not something that arrives and then disappears. A blueprint is just a file. Files can be rewritten. And the moment you rewrite the file, the outer world, which has always been a perfect printout of the inner world, begins to change. Hit the like button if this landed.
Subscribe and hit the bell, because Video 5 is the richest man in Babylon, one of the oldest and most precise wealth frameworks ever written, and it is going to show you that the principles we have been building across this entire series are not modern discoveries, they are ancient laws. Your free downloads are in the description. Thank you for being part of CosmiReads. Manifest, read, rise. See you in the next one.